I was personally chosen by the gang boss to guard his one true love. In the 3rd year of our marriage, I was kidnapped by his enemies for the 8th time. Silas arrived with his man to rescue me. The negotiation didn't even last 5 minutes before his precious Cora called. Silas, I lost a game of truth or dare. I have to kiss one of the guys here, but I want to save my first kiss for you. Can you come get me, please? The moment Silas turned and left without a second, a knife plunged into my stomach. Blood gushed out just like the last 7 times. His men paid the kidnappers off and sent me to the hospital. In the ambulance, I overheard them wondering if I'd even live long enough to see the day his little Cora could finally stand on her own. He roared with laughter. I was the only one crying. My mission to save the mafia boss had failed. I was about to be erased by the system. Silas, I'm not going to live to see that day. The doctor sighed, his voice low next to my ear. Miss Thorne, your womb was already damaged from your last miscarriage. This time, the knife hit the same area. I'm afraid you'll never be able to have children. I stared at the ceiling, my own voice sounding like it was coming from a million miles away. Oh, that's okay. After the doctor left, I heard the system sighed too. Mission failed. You will be erased. You wish to restart the mission and continue to save him? I shook my head. Just erase me. Understood. Erase. Your protocol initiated. You have 72 hours remaining. I closed my eyes, the silence in the room pressing in on me. But then, as if possessed, I opened Cora's live stream. Today, she was painting in the mountain estates Silas had bought for her. She wore an oversized men's dress shirt, her hair tied up in a messy bun, mixing colors on her palette. Blush crept up her cheeks as she smiled innocently at the camera. This shirt, oh, it's my boyfriend's. My own clothes were, well, they were unwearable. Things got a little intense last night, she added shyly. She glanced at someone off camera. She mumbled, I can't believe I had my first kiss and my first time all on the same day. A man's deep, gentle voice drifted into the mic. Sorry, I'll be gentler next time. The chat exploded with cheers. OMG. Cough finally got her man. Please post more cute couple stuff. Couple stuff is hard. She pouted. My boyfriend has a unique job. He can't be on camera. As she spoke, she got a smear of red paint on her sleeve. Oops, Cora said. A man's long, elegant fingers reached into the frame to roll up her sleeve for her. A cute little peach-shaped ring glinted on her ring finger. It's okay if it gets dirty. Cora's blush deepened. She giggled, and then the man suddenly pulled her out of view. The sounds of passionate kissing and soft gasps filled the audio feed, leaving everything to the imagination. The comments flew by, but one caught my eye. Is that the voice of the mafia boss, Silas Fallov? The man spoke again, his voice dropping 10 degrees. I'm not. The stream ended abruptly. I put my phone down and drifted back to sleep. I dreamt of a time I was cleaning and accidentally got a speck of dust on his white shirt. I apologized immediately, but he flew into a rage, screaming at me for daring to touch his things. He threw that shirt in the trash like it was garbage. After that day, I never saw another piece of his clothing in our home. The dream ended with the image of Silas's back. It looked just like it did every time he walked away from me. Over the past 3 years, rushing off to save Ka. While I was left to suffer, I woke up in a daze. The first thing I saw was a peach-shaped ring. My eyes traveled up. Cora was there, changed into a simple t-shirt and jeans. She was sipping chicken soup from a thermos with a sweet smile. Our housekeeper looked at me apologetically. Mom, it's my fault. I only made one portion of soup for you, and it just so happens Miss Wynn loves it too. Oh my gosh, did I drink it all? Autumn. Sweetie, I'm so sorry. Cora acted as if she just realized it was my recovery meal. her eyes instantly welling up with tears. Just then Silas walked in to see her bowing to me over and over, her hands closed together, an apology. Autumn, what the hell is your problem? Now, Cora was just worried about you. That's why she came to visit. The housekeeper tried to explain, but Ka cut her off. Silas, don't be mad at her. It's my fault. I'm such a glutton. I smelled the soup and couldn't resist a few sips, but then I finished the whole thing. Autumn has every right to be angry with me. She sobbed so pitifully that Silas's heart melted. It's just a damn bowl of soup. You can have all you want when you're out of the hospital. Why are you giving Cora such a hard time? He shot a cold look at the housekeeper. Cora hasn't had much of an appetite lately. It's rare she likes. You're cooking this much. Go back and make another pot right now. Deliver it to her estate. The housekeeper scared away. Silas's face softened as he gently wiped away Cora's tears. Stop crying. You'll mess up your pretty face. Cora's tears turned to laughter as she threw herself into his arms. You're teasing me again. They left the room, their cheerful banter echoing down the hall. The world went quiet again. I was surprised to find at this scene the misunderstanding, the accusations, the yelling which had played out countless times before no longer sparked anything inside me. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to fight. I didn't even want to explain myself anymore. An hour later, as a doctor checked my wound, one of Silas's men swaggered in. He told me to get discharged as soon as possible because his boss's enemies were still sniffing around. Another one of the men took pity on me and asked if I wanted him to get me more painkillers. I shook my head. It's okay. I was used to the pain by now. One of the henchmen dropped me at the front door, tossed a bag of medicine on the porch, and sped off. Silas treated me like I was nothing, and his men followed his lead. I let myself into the cold, empty house. Even the part-time cleaner was gone. My phone. Huh? It was Silas, his voice as cold and devoid of warmth as ever. Cora's not feeling well. Your maids are more attentive, so I had them all go over to her place. You'll have to manage on your own for a few days. They'll come back after Cora feels better. He said it so casually, as if Cora was the one who'd been stabbed 5 times and left for dead. Okay. My flat tone seemed to surprise him. He was silent for a moment before continuing. Make a list of what you want to eat. Maids can make it for you when they get back. Okay. I could feel him frowning through the phone. Are you seriously giving me attitude over a bowl of soup? Don't you forget, Autumn? I told you when I married you that your only job was to be Cora's shield. Don't think that being Mrs. Boff for 3 years gives you the right to walk all over her. Nodded mechanically. Okay, you. His anger was just starting to build when Cora's sweet voice called out in the background. Silas, baby, come have some cake. The line went dead. 48 hours left until my eraser. I was hungry, but when I went to the kitchen, I found it had been stripped. Every ingredient was gone. The fridge completely empty. Because of whose silence I was never allowed to order takeout. I rummaged through the cabinets and finally found a single packet of expired Astalhamen. The electric kettle was broken and had never been fixed. I used hot water from the tap to prepare the noodles and sat down at the dining table. A notification popped up on my phone. Ka was live. They weren't at the mountain estate today. The background looked like a hot spring resort. Ka was wearing a loose t-shirt, eating a chocolate cake and chatting with her viewers. Every now and then a man's hand would reach into the frame with a fork, gently feeding her a bite. Can we please see his face just once? Those hands belonged to a seriously hot guy. Cora stuck her tongue out playfully. My boyfriend is the most handsome man in the world. Every time he smiles, my heart just melts. He chased me first. You know, But I was so shy always, worried about this or that. It took me until now to finally say yes. Cake is sweet, but not as sweet as we are. The man stroked her hair and she giggled, her cheeks turning bright red. Cora finished half the cake. I finished my disgusting ramen. In the video, her other phone lit up as she read the screen. Her eyes widened in shock and filled with tears. A few seconds later, in front of over 100,000 viewers, she burst into sobs. Stream ended abruptly. I was still staring at my phone when Silas called. He didn't even say hello, just launched into a furious tirade. Autumn, was it really worth it? Over a bowl of soup and a few maids, you leaked photos of me and Cora to the entire internet. If anything happens to her, because of this you could die 10 times, and it wouldn't be enough. I open my mouth to speak. Don't know what you're talking about. I've just been eating. Since I got home, still lying. Ka said. She only accidentally sent those pictures to you. No one else has seen them, not even me. And what's more, you've been to the resort we're at. Today, I saw you in the live stream chat. Just now, he spat out the last few words. If I were in front of him right now, he would have already kicked me to the ground, forcing me to kneel and apologize to Cora, just like last winter, when Ka had period cramps and demanded I come take care of her. My body was still weak from my miscarriage. The moment I said I'm sorry, I can't, he grabbed me by the shoulders and slammed me to the floor. I think I bowed my head to the ground 10 times that day until my face was covered in blood before Cora finally cried and said she forgave me. Silas is ragged, angry breaths on the phone pulled me back to the present. I looked down at my ramen broth. It wasn't me, I said. I have no reason to do that. Nora started crying again in the background. Silas, I think someone's watching me from outside. I'm so scared. The call ended. I sat motionless at the table. My mind blinked. Sure enough, not even 10 minutes later, Silas's men used the key code to enter the house. They grabbed me and started dragging me out like a sack of garbage. Let's go. The boss wants you to be Miss Windshield. The Hot Ring Lodge had a massive picture window. I was ordered to sit at a table right in front of it and pretend to read a book. Meanwhile, in the safest corner of the room, Silas was gently comforting a crying Cora. Don't be scared. I'm here. I'll protect you. She buried her face in his chest, her small hands clutching his expensive designer shirt. Silas, are they going to kill me? I'm scared. I don't want it to hurt. They won't. You're safe here. I promise you nothing will happen. Her sobs slowly subsided. Ka sniffled. Silas, what would I do without you? Don't say silly things. How could you ever be without me? I'll be with you always until we're old and gray. The sound of them kissing was so loud that I could hear every detail, even as I tried to focus on the book in my hands. It went on for a full 30 minutes, only stopping just before they went too far. Silas or whispered, Autumn is still here. She's your wife after all. Maybe you should have someone protect her, too. Silas shot a cold glare in my direction. None of this would be happening if she hadn't leaked our photos and location. She deserves whatever she gets. I tried so hard to read the words on the page, but my vision was blurry. I thought I was past the point of feeling the soul-crushing pain. So why were there still tears? I didn't understand, and I didn't want to. I don't know how much time passed, but the pain and exhaustion from the past few days finally caught up to me, and I drifted off to sleep. I was jolted awake by a sharp slap across the face from Silas. At the same time, the system's voice echoed in my ear. 24 hours remaining. Autumn Thorne, how could you be so venomous, sneaking in here while I was asleep? I scrambled to my feet, pulling at the wound on my stomach. I hissed in pain. Stop your pathetic act. Tell me, where's Cora? That's when I Realized I was in the bedroom and Cora was gone. I don't know. I fell asleep in front of the window. Cut the crap. Where? Did you send her? I shook my head. I don't know. You better be telling the truth, Autumn, or I swear I'll make you regret it. Silas gritted his teeth and stormed out, making one frantic call after another. He finally located Cora. A few of you get her. He barked into the phone. My ankles were tied, and I was thrown into the back seat of Silas's car. He drove himself, flooring the gas pedal. In 3 years of marriage, I had never seen him so out of control. When we reached the coast, Cora was hanging from a boat by her wrists, screaming her head off. Silas, what took you so long? I'm so scared. Please save me, Cora. Silas yelled her name, then turned to glare at the rival boss on the boat. Let her go. I'll trade you my wife plus 2 of my territories and 10 of my storefronts. The rival boss, a mountain of a man, grinned. Deal. As I was slowly hoisted into the air, Silas was already holding Cora tightly, whispering sweet nothings in her ear. When I reached the highest point, he turned his back on me, his arm wrapped protectively around the woman he loved. There it was again, that back. Only this time Cora was by his side. The rival boss lit a cigarette and glanced up at me. Do it. A searing hot branding iron was pressed against my skin. A scream of agony tore from my throat. Just kill me, I shrieked. He shook his head. If you die too quickly, it would be an insult to my dead brothers. No, it's better to torture you slowly. Let everyone in the underworld see that Silas Volkov isn't so terrifying after all. I struggled, twisting my body, but the iron found its mark every time. The pain, so intense I couldn't even speak. I don't know how many times he burned me. I was on the verge of passing out when they finally lowered me down, but I had only taken a few gasping breaths when a sharp pain shot through my wrist. He was cutting my wrist with a knife and then dunking it into the ocean. My blood poured into the sea, instantly staining the water crimson. My body was held down, but he forced my head to turn, making me watch my own life drain away. Suddenly, I started to laugh. Silas, if I die here, will you find your little Cora a new human? Through the haze of pain, I watched Silas. He didn't turn back, not even when the rival bosses' laughter echoed across the water, loud and mocking. Silas simply climbed into his armored SUV, his arm wrapped firmly around Cora's trembling shoulders, shielding her from the sight of my torment. To him, this was just another Tuesday, another rescue, another transaction where I was the currency. Look at that. The rival boss, whose name was Ivan, muttered, exhaling a plume of gray smoke. He looked down at me with something resembling pity. 3 years of marriage and he didn't even bargain for your corpse. You're a tough woman, Autumn. It's a shame you chose the wrong man to bleed for. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The salt water stung the fresh cuts on my wrists, a screaming, agonizing burn that slowly numbed into a deep, hollow ache. 30 minutes remaining. The system's voice echoed in my mind. It was a cold mechanical sound. Yet in this moment, it was the only consistent thing I had left. Physical functions failing. Metaphysical erasure preparing to launch. Host, do you have any last requests before memory purge? No. Thought, closing my eyes. Just make it quiet. Understood. Preparing quietus. Protocol. Ivan got bored quickly. When a toy doesn't scream, there is no pleasure in breaking it. He signaled his men to haul me out of the water and toss me onto the damp, jagged rocks of the shoreline. They didn't bother tying me up again. They knew I couldn't run. My legs were useless. My stomach wound was leaking dark red fluid onto the gray stones, and my breath was shallow. They climbed back onto their boat, the engine roaring to life as they sped away into the fog, leaving me alone with the rising tide. I lay on my side, my cheek pressed against the cold, wet gravel. I watched the sky. The gray clouds were parting slightly, revealing a pale, watery sun. It was beautiful in a distant, uncaring way. The sound of tires crunching on gravel broke the silence. I didn't turn my head. I didn't have the strength, but I heard the heavy, hurried footsteps approaching. For a fleeting second, a stupid, conditioned part of my brain, the part that had spent 3 years trying to survive this hell, thought it might be Silas. But the footsteps were too light, too hesitant. Mrs. Fallow, it was Leo, one of Silas's junior guards. He was the one who had offered me painkillers at the hospital. He knelt beside me, his hands shaking as he reached for my pulse. Oh, God, Mrs. Faloff. Hold on, the boss. The boss told us to come back and secure the perimeter once Miss Wynne was settled. I didn't think. Don't, I whispered, the words scraping against my dry throat like sandpaper. I have a medic kit in the car, Leo said, his voice cracking. He was young, probably 19, still in use. To the absolute brutality of the Fallow Syndicate. I can patch the wrist. We can get you to the clinic, Leo, I said. Looking at him, my vision was starting to tunnel, the edges turning into a soft, glowing white. Don't bother. Go home. But the boss doesn't care, I said. It wasn't spoken in anger. It was just a fact. Tell him the shield is broken. 10 minutes remaining. The system chimed, initiating memory decay in the physical plane. A strange phenomenon began to occur. Leo reached out to lift me, but as his fingers brushed my shoulder, they passed right through me. As if grasping at smoke, he gasped, falling backward onto the wet rocks, his eyes wide with terror. What is happening? He stammered, staring at his hands, then at me. My body was beginning to translucent. The blood on the rocks was fading, turning from a deep, violent crimson into clear water, soaking harmlessly into the earth. The deep, jagged burns on my skin were smoothing out, leaving behind pale, unblemished flesh that shimmered like stardust. Before dissolving entirely, am I losing my mind? Leo whispered, clutching his head. He looked around as if searching for a hidden projector. A trick of the light, anything to explain why the woman in front of him was literally evaporating into the air. Goodbye, Leo, I murmured. My voice didn't sound like it came from my throat anymore. It echoed from the stones, from the wind, from the sea. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eraser complete. Host Autumn Thorn has been successfully removed from world. Directive 409. The pain stopped. There was no sound, no light, no darkness. Just a great sweeping vacuum of nothingness. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt entirely safe. In the master bedroom of the Faloff estate, the air conditioning hummed a low, monotonous tune. Silas sat at the edge of the bed, his head in his hands, his expensive white shirt, the one Ka had touched with her pain-stained hands earlier, lay crumpled on the floor. Cora was asleep under the heavy silk sheets, her face peaceful, a small smile playing on her lips. She had cried for 3 hours about the trauma of being suspended over the water, and Silas had stayed by her side, whispering promises, kissing her forehead, feeding her soup. But now, in the quiet of the night, an odd, persistent irritation was scratching at the back of his mind. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He wanted to call the hospital to see if Autumn had been admitted. He wanted to yell at her. He wanted to ask her why she had to make such a scene on the boat, why she had to ask him that ridiculous dramatic question. Will you find your little Cora a new human? He opened his contacts. He scrolled to the letter. Nothing. Silas frowned. He searched Autumn. No results. Stupid phone, he muttered. He went to his recent call logs. He had called her just a few hours ago before the kidnapping to yell at her about the maids. He scrolled down. The log showed a call to an unknown number at 4:15 p.m. But when he tapped on it, the call history was completely blank. No duration, no timestamp, just a corrupted string of characters. A cold draft seemed to pass through the room, making the hairs on his arms stand up. Silas stood up and walked down the long, carpeted hallway to the study. He kept all the household records there. He opened the drawer where the marriage certificate was kept. He wanted to look at her name to prove to himself that his memory wasn't playing tricks on him. He pulled out the leather folder. He opened it. The document was there, but the space where the bride's signature should have been was entirely white. The ink had not just faded. It looked as if it had never been written. Even the printed name, Autumn Thorne, was gone, leaving only Silas Fallov listed as a single registrant. What is this? Silas whispered, his voice rising in pitch. Who touched this folder? He slammed the door shut and strode out of the study, heading down to the ground floor. Leo, Marcus, he roared. A few moments later, Marcus, his chief of security, ran into the foyer, looking pale and disheveled. Boss, what's wrong? Where is Autumn? Silas demanded, his face twisting in anger. Did she come back? Did she hire some hacker to mess with my files? My phone is wiped. The marriage certificate is blank. What kind of game is she playing? Marcus stared at him, his expression blank. Who, boss? Autumn, Silas yelled, stepping forward and grabbing Marcus by the collar. My wife, the woman you guys dragged to the hot spring resort this morning. Don't play dumb with me, Marcus, or I'll have you thrown into the river. Marcus' eyes filled with genuine confusion and fear. Boss, I swear to you, I don't know who you're talking about. Your wife, you've never been married. Silas froze. The silence in the foyer became heavy, suffocating. What did you say? Silas's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You've never been married, boss. Marcus stammered, his hands raised in a defensive gesture. We've been protecting Miss Wynne for the last 3 years. She's your only partner. We don't have anyone named Autumn in our database. I've never heard that name in my life. Silas let go of Marcus' collar, taking a step back. His heart was hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. You're lying. You're all in on this. Some rival gang paid you off to mess with my head. He spun around and ran toward the kitchen. He remembered the expired ramen. He remembered the empty fridge. He had called her there. He pushed the double doors open. The kitchen was spotless. The fridge was fully stocked with fresh vegetables, expensive meats, and imported cheeses. There was no dust. There was no broken kettle. Everything was perfect, pristine, and entirely empty of any human trace. This is impossible, Silas muttered, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. He ran to the guest cottage, the place where Autumn had lived for the past year after he moved Cora into the main house. He threw the door open. The cottage was dusty, smelling of old wood and disuse. The furniture was covered in white sheets. There were no clothes in the closet, no shoes by the door, no small cheap trinkets she liked to collect from the street markets. It was as if she had never existed. Silas screamed, running back to the main courtyard. Where the hell is Leo? Leo's in the infirmary, boss, Marcus said, running after him. He came back from the shoreline an hour ago. He was babbling about some ghost. We had to sedate him. Silas didn't wait. He sprinted toward the estate's private clinic. In the recovery room, Leo was lying on a cot, his eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. The sedative was wearing off, leaving him in a state of shivering shock. Silas grabbed him by the shoulders, shaking him violently. Look at me. What did you see at the shore? Where is she? Leo's eyes slowly focused on Silas. A tear slipped down his cheek. She turned into water. Boss. Who? Silas roared. Who turned into water? To the lady, Leo whispered, his voice trembling. The one with the scars. The one who always took the hits for Miss Wynne. I can't remember her face. Boss, I can't remember her name, but I Remember her blood. It was so much blood. And then it just disappeared, she told me to tell you the shield is broken. Silas's hands dropped. The shield is broken. The words echoed in his head. Cold and heavy. No, Silas whispered. No, no, no. Suddenly, a sharp, stabbing pain shot through his abdomen. It was so intense, so sudden that he collapsed too, his knees clutching his stomach. Boss, Marcus cried, rushing forward to help him. Are you all right? What's wrong? The pain was agonizing, centered right in the lower left side of his abdomen, the exact spot where Autumn had been stabbed by his enemies earlier that day. He gasped for air, his forehead slick with sweat. He had never been stabbed there. He had never been injured in that spot. So why did it feel like a cold blade was twisting inside his flesh? Yet get the doctor, Silas gasped, his vision turning black. For the next 48 hours, the Falov Syndicate was thrown into absolute chaos. Silas Falov, the feared mafia boss who had survived dozens of assassination attempts without a single scratch, was better. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him physically. There was no internal bleeding, no infection, no tumor. Yet he was screaming in agony, clutching his stomach and his wrists, which had broken out in raw red welts that resembled rope burns and acid scars. It's psychological, the lead doctor whispered to Marcus outside the bedroom door. His nervous system is reacting to some phantom trauma. We given him maximum doses of morphine, but it's not touching the pain. Inside the room, Cora sat by the bed, looking beautiful, but deeply annoyed. Silas, sweetie, she pouted, patting his damp forehead with a silk handkerchief. You're scaring me. The live stream sponsors are asking when we're going to do our next couple Q&A. And the mountain estate needs some renovations. Can you sign the papers? Silas turned his head slowly, looking at her. For 3 years, he had found her voice sweet, her innocence refreshing. But now, with his body racked by a pain he couldn't explain, her voice sounded like grating metal. Not now, Cora, he croaked, his voice. But Silas, she whined, her lower lip trembling. You promised. You said you'd always take care of me. You said nothing else mattered. Why are you being so mean to me just because you have a little stomach ache, a little stomach ache? Silas looked at her face. The flawless skin, the perfect hair, the cute little peach-shaped ring on her finger. And then a memory flashing like a bolt of lightning through his darkened mind struck him. He remembered a woman. He couldn't see her face. The memory was blurry, like a photograph left in the rain. But he remembered her lying on a hospital bed, her face pale, her lips dry. He remembered a doctor saying, Miss Thorne, your womb was already damaged from your last miscarriage. This time, the knife hit the same area. I'm afraid you'll never be able to have children. And he remembered his own voice, cold and dismissive. It's just a damn bowl of soup. Why are you giving Cora such a hard time? Autumn, Silas whispered. The moment the name left his lips, a violent spasm shook his body. He vomited blood onto the expensive carpet. Oh my God, Ka screamed, jumping back, her eyes wide with disgust as she shielded her designer clothes. Silas, that's disgusting. Get away from me. Silas lay on his side, panting, staring at the pool of dark blood on the floor. The realization hit him like a physical blow. There was no shield. The woman he had forgotten, the woman whose name he could barely hold in his mind before it slipped away like sand had been his literal physical shield. Every time she was kidnapped, every time she was tortured, every time she was stabbed, she was taking the blows meant for him, or for the empire he had built, and he had treated her like garbage. He had thrown her into the path of his enemies, using her body to buy time, to buy safety, to buy peace for a woman who couldn't even bear to look at his blood. Marcus, Silas roared, his voice cracking with a mixture of pain and terror. Marcus rushed into the room. Yes, boss. Find her. Silas wept, his tears mixing with the blood on his lips. I don't care. How? Search every database in the world. Search the hospitals, the morgues, the orphanages. Find Autumn Thorne. Marcus looked at him with profound sorrow. Boss, we tried. There is no record of any Autumn Thorne. Not in the government archives, not in the tax registry, not even in the school systems. It's like she was never born. Silas stared at him, his heart turning to ash, erased. She had chosen to be erased. She hadn't just left him. She had wiped her very existence from his world, preferring to become nothingness rather than remain his wife. No, Silas sobbed, burying his face in his hands. No, please, Autumn, come back. I'll give you the estate. I'll give you everything. Just make the pain stop. But the empty room gave no answer. 2 years later, in a small coastal town halfway across the world, the air was warm and smelled of salt and wild jasmine. A small, cozy flower shop stood at the corner of a cobblestone street. The sign on the door read, in neat, elegant script, the Thorn Garden. Inside, a woman was trimming the stems of pale pink peonies. She wore a simple linen apron over a sundress, her hair tied back in a loose, comfortable braid. Her skin was smooth, her face relaxed, and her eyes, clear and bright, held a deep, unbroken peace. Autumn, dear, an elderly woman called out from the doorway, holding a basket of fresh strawberries. The weather is lovely today. Are you coming to the town square for the market? Autumn turned, a warm, genuine smile lighting up her face. In a few minutes, Mrs. Gable. I just want to finish this arrangement for the library. Take your time, sweetie. No. Ruse. After the older woman left, Autumn set her shears down. She walked over to the full-length mirror near the counter. She looked at her reflection. There were no scars on her wrists. There was no deep aching pain in her abdomen. Her body was healthy, whole, and completely her own. When the system had erased her, it hadn't just wiped her from Silas's world. It had returned her to her original state before she entered the mission. It had given her a new life, a quiet life in a beautiful, peaceful place where no one knew the name Falof, and where no one would ever use her as a shield again. Sometimes in the quiet of the night, she would have fleeting dreams of a tall man with cold eyes and a dark suit, crying in an empty, cold house. She would dream of a world of violence, of blood, and of a girl who cried over a bowl of soup. But when she woke up, the dreams would dissolve like mist under the morning sun, leaving no trace behind. She didn't hate Silas. She didn't love him. She didn't feel anything for him at all. He was just a character in a book she had finished reading a long time ago. A book she had closed and put away on a high shelf, never to be opened again. Her phone on the counter buzzed. It was a local news notification, a habit she hadn't quite broken, though she rarely paid attention to international affairs anymore. She tapped the screen casually. The headline read, Faction War in the Underworld. Falov Syndicate collapses. The article detailed the spectacular fall of Silas Falov. Without his miraculous luck and the strange, inexplicable protection he once enjoyed, his enemies had closed in. He had been betrayed by his own men, his territory, seized, his assets frozen. There was a photo of him being led away in handcuffs by the international police. He looked 20 years older, his hair gray, his face hollow and covered in deep, ugly scars that the article noted appeared overnight without any medical explanation. Beside him, Cora Wynn was seen screaming at the reporters, trying to shield her face from the cameras. Her perfect life entirely ruined as she was dragged into the investigation as an accomplice. The article quoted a source close to Silas. He kept calling out a name during the arrest, a name no one recognized. He kept begging a ghost to save him. Autumn read the words, her expression calm, her heart completely still. She didn't feel satisfaction. She didn't feel pity. Autumn, a young voice, called from the front of the shop. A little girl stood there holding a broken Daisy. Can you fix this for me? Autumn smiled, turning away from the phone, letting the screen go dark. Of course I can, sweetheart, she said, kneeling down to meet the child's eyes. Let's find a beautiful new stem for it. She walked into the warm sunlight filtering through the glass windows, leaving the ghosts of the past exactly where they belonged, in the dark, forgotten corners of a world she had successfully outlived.